Hello, it's Philip Cargon with Tea with the Druid 95. Lovely to be with you. Last minute panic when the lights weren't working in the way they should have done. So we have a sort of candlelit setting for tonight. Lovely to see you. As ever, do say where you're from. And Daniel from Germany, hi there. And of course, it's great to know that the sound's working too. So that's lovely. Hello, Ellie. I was with Ellie on a retreat just a week ago. It was great. Melissa from Brazil. Hello, hello. Great. And Leo from Brazil as well. I was sitting with Leo in a pizza joint about 20 minutes ago, but you're a different one because you're in Brazil. Hello, AD from New Zealand. Good to see you. So, thank you. I haven't been on this program for 2 weeks now. 2 weeks seems such a long time. I've missed it, to tell you the truth. Thank you to Mo and Michelle for having done a Tea with the Druid last week. For the shortest, she won the Guinness Book of Records for the shortest Tea with the Druid. It was just about 15 minutes long. We could have done with much more, Moin, so do come back. This evening, I'd like to talk to you about something that I think is very, very central. And it's something that is fantastically simple, I think. And I'd be really interested to hear what you feel about it. I think it's very, very simple. It's so simple that we kind of maybe miss its significance. But let's try, see what you think of this. There's a way in which, the way in which we always feel like there's always more work to do. There's either always more work to do in the house, in our job, in our lives, things to sort out. But in addition to that, there's always more work to do on ourselves at the level of personal development or spiritual development. There's always stuff to iron out, things to sort out, difficulties to be resolved and so on, or spiritual attainment to be reached. So there's always something to do. But one of the fundamental teachings of spirituality is, I believe, that there's a level at which there's no work to be done. It's all okay. There's nothing more that any of us needs to do, because at the heart of our beings is perfection, is an aspect of the self, which we can call the soul or the deep self, which is in contact with the one source, if you like, which doesn't need anything to be done. And when we get that, either when we read about it and it triggers a realization, or when we actually experience this in ourselves in meditation, say, there's this tremendous relief. It's like, the way when you relax and you didn't realize how tense you were until you'd completely relaxed. And then when you go into a state of deep relaxation, there's that delicious feeling of muscle after muscle relaxing, and you sink deeply into a relaxed state. At a kind of psychic or spiritual or psychological level, I think the same thing can happen when we really take on board or feel that we've accessed this awareness that there's nothing that needs to be done. There's absolutely nothing that we don't need to take another course in meditation. We don't need to read another book. It's just available to us as a state. And part of the relief in that is when you don't feel that way, you're always striving, you're always trying to fix something or to get to a particular state. One of the paradoxes of meditation is that you're striving to be in this state of non-striving. And so this, I think, is the central kind of experience that spirituality offers. But to be fully human means to be that we also have the contrary feeling, because those experiences only last a certain amount of time. And then we find ourselves being aware of the fact that work has to be done, either outside, oh, I've got to have breakfast, or got to take the kids to school, however blissed out you are, as it were. You've got to do something. Or at the level of psychological and spiritual development, you realize, well, there is still some more work to be done. So it's paradoxical. They seem to be opposite things. In one sense, we're talking about the difference between being and doing. We're either in a doing mode where we're sorting things out and doing things, or we can drop into being. In this case, being contented, being open, feeling connected with the one and with our deep selves. So you could characterize spiritual work as being the work of finding that experience, finding technologies, ways, methods, techniques, paths that help us to achieve this state. And at a psychological level, it's a question of having the understanding and the realization that at one level, it's the I'm okay, you're okay concept that comes from transactional analysis, which is this realization, actually, however messed up I am, however much more emotional and psychological work I need to do to clear stuff and get myself sorted. At one level, the deepest level, I'm okay, actually. And again, when you get that, it's a tremendous feeling of relief too, and it's an empowering feeling as well. There's a related concept, we can nuance this if you like. You start to see how a simple idea like I'm okay, or there's a level of being in which there's no more work to be done. You can start to explore it and you find that it's really quite interesting. There are all these different nuances. So another nuance of this is the concept of good enough. There was a psychologist called Winnicott who developed this concept of the good enough mother, because he found as a parent, I keep trying to move my eyes to get these reflections out of the way of the light, and I can't quite do it. So I apologize for these light reflections. I find myself having to look over the reflection here. Winnicott realized that so many of us as parents, perhaps all of us as parents, are always striving to be the best dad, the best mum. But that's a kind of impossible target. It's the perfectionist in us. And he came up with the idea of the good enough mother. In this case, he was talking about the good enough mother. And you can apply this in all sorts of different ways. A friend of mine who writes books explained to me how he came up with the concept of the good enough book. Because when you write books, there's a part of you that wants every book to be perfect. And you can get quite obsessive and hysterical about this, constantly going over your drafts to get the perfect book. And there's a moment of kind of liberation. If you can get to this stage, it's fantastic, where you relax and you say, look, I can't write a perfect book. I'm not William Shakespeare, and but there's such a thing as a good enough book. This is going to be good enough. It's my best effort. And it's a great relief. And if you can get there, it's probably going to be fine. Likewise with absolutely everything. I think perhaps you could say the good enough lover, the good enough mother, the good enough friend. There's always ways we can criticize ourselves and say we haven't quite attained it. The good enough spiritual seeker, the good enough meditator. And the question then comes, yes, but don't we need the edge that trying to be the best brings us? The part of me that doesn't want to be a good enough author, but I want to be the best author on spiritual topics. I want to be the best golfer. I want to be the best public speaker. I want to be the best whatever. And it's true. And this is where we get the paradox, I think, is we need, on the one hand, we need the perfectionist in us. We need to have that kind of yearning to really be the best at something in order to excel and in order to kind of draw out the best of us. But I think that if you don't balance that with frequently relaxing into being the good enough person who is okay, the okay author, the okay speaker, and so on. You're going to drive yourself nuts and you're going to be miserable. And of course, we hear that from geniuses and highly talented people. We discovered that this actor that we admired, or this comedian we admired, who seems to do things with such style and with such grace and so effortlessly, we read that actually they were miserable all the time because they never quite achieved their best. But I think if you can hold those two thoughts, I mean, I feel every book I write, I always feel it's kind of, I could have done better. It's not quite as good as I could have made it if I had applied myself more. I'm seeing Jesse saying, this is such a difficult concept for me. I can be told that something I've made or done is perfect and beautiful by many others, but never be willing to tell myself the same, much less believe it. Exactly. That's exactly how I feel. People will say, oh, I love your books and that was great, and say all sorts of nice things to me. And I can get nice reviews on Amazon and so on. And of course, it's lovely and affirming, and I appreciate those reviews tremendously. And I believe them. I do believe them, Jesse. I believe they mean what they say, but deep inside, there's a part of me that thinks, actually, if they were a bit more discerning, they'd realize it's not quite good enough, actually. And I've struggled with this for years, actually. And I've just gradually come to accept that this is okay to also have these feelings, because otherwise you can get caught in a trap where you beat yourself up for beating yourself up. So you tell yourself you shouldn't have this perfectionist in you. You tell yourself that you shouldn't get cross with yourself for not doing your best. So you just create another should and another rod to beat your back with. So I think the trick, and certainly the way it works for me, is I tell myself these feelings are normal. It's normal to have a perfectionist inside. It's normal, even good, to have a part of me that tries to make me excel and do better all the time. That's perfectly normal, but it's really good and normal and healthy as well to have an equal and opposite ability to hang loose, to relax, and to say, do you know something? This is good enough. People like this book or talk or whatever. It's good enough. It has some value, and I'm going to relax about it and let go of the perfectionism. So there we go. That's for me. I need to remind myself frequently that this is the case. And perhaps we all do. I don't think it's a realization that you get it once, you get the thought once, and you think, okay, sorted. I have to remind myself constantly. And the way I do it is I use meditation and I use relaxation. And Marie-Anne Todeschini, a sophrologue, says the good enough can be found in sophrology. Thank you, Marie-Anne. Because I was going to say, just as I was reading that sophrology is a way for me that I embody that. Because we'll do a little exercise in a minute. If I can tense myself up and then relax, then I'm good enough. The relaxation is precisely aligned, if you like, with this idea of being good enough. I'm okay. I'm okay. I'm good enough. I can relax. So there we go. So let's apply this in meditation, because if you then say to yourself, well, it's okay, I get the idea, but how in practice do you do this? I'm just about to sneeze, but while I'm about to sneeze, I'm going to read Derek's thing. Struggle to relax at times. Trees become a good friend to embrace when required to find that sense of stillness and calm. That's what Derek says, and I absolutely agree that nature and relaxation and relaxing in nature is a wonderful way to let go to the okayness, because the trees aren't worrying about whether they're okay. They're not perfectionists. They're just being. And so the way spirituality can help us is it gives us methods. techniques, meditations, ways of accessing the level of being where you are okay and everything's all right. So let's do that. In a sense, what we're talking about as well is moving between the world of change that requires change, that transformation. It's always changing and you need to change and do things. The world of change and the changeless world. The world of movement and of stillness. The world of time and of timelessness. And this is not a narcissistic, navel-gazing, privileged, self-obsessed way of ignoring the things that need to be done in the world. Quite the opposite. If you want to effect change in the world, I believe, if you want to be a force for good, if you want to work with the environment or with any way of being of value in the world, then you need to be able to access this deep level where everything's okay. So you can then come out of it recharged and able to deal with what is not okay. Imagine if you're working, say the worst thing, Médecins Sans Frontières in Yemen, dealing with the bombings and the kids in an operating theatre. Imagine you're doing that. What an incredible work to be doing. If you were just constantly working in that operating theatre without ever just collapsing on your bed back wherever you are and just letting go and sinking down into sleep, that's the great value of sleep, to be recharged, then you'd be, after a short length of time, you'd be of no good to anyone. So here we go. Brenda is saying, trying to be the best is ego-driven, in my opinion. Well, yes, I agree, but in some ways we all have an ego, and an ego for a reason. So I guess, trying to be, maybe the best isn't the right word, personal best. I'd like to make my best book that I can achieve myself, not the best in the whole wide world, perhaps, but the best. I still think there's a value in that. We can often use the term ego-driven to put stuff down, but perhaps if we accept that the ego has a value, it's a structure that, after all, functions in the world. Perhaps it has a value there. But anyway, let's do this now. Let's go into a meditation where we drop down into into this timeless world to recharge, really, so that we can then come back up into the world of time and of change to be of value, so to ourselves and to others. So if you're up for it, just take a moment to be aware of sitting here in front of your screen, and you can keep your eyes open for the moment, because what we're going to do is we're going to just take a little trick from sophrology, which is this, and you can do it whatever way you like, but basically just try breathing in slowly through your nostrils, holding your breath just for a second, and then squeeze all your muscles up, just wherever you're sitting or standing or whatever you're, squeeze like that, scrunch up your face, because you can see me, but I can't see you, scrunch. Hold until you can't hold your breath anymore, and then breathe out. So that's like being in doing mode. You're really doing. And then you let go and be. Okay, so let's try that. So we start off, and you might like to close your eyes now to better concentrate on yourself. Take a moment, and then taking a breath, slowly empty your lungs of air, then. And then as you breathe in, scrunch up all your muscles, make a grimace with your face, scrunch, hold your muscles tight. As you hold in your breath, hold. And then when you can't hold your breath in anymore, release, relax, let go. Eyes still closed, just sinking into a deep state of relaxation. Just allowing your awareness of being seated by your computer or tablet or phone to fade as you become aware of being seated in a beautiful place, perhaps in your sacred grove in the forest, the sacred grove beloved of the Druids, a clearing in the forest, wide open to the sky, with the protection of the trees around you. You become aware of the earth beneath you, and you sense the life in the earth, the minerals, the soil, all the life in the earth, and you feel just all your tensions just drifting into the earth. And as you gently breathe in and out, you breathe in peace and calm. You become aware of the way the trees are rooted deep in the earth, drawing their nourishment up their trunks. And you can feel the presence of these trees around you, their boughs and branches above you, the leaves in the air. And you feel the presence of your brothers and sisters, the trees, these living beings who give you oxygen to breathe. And you breathe in the energy of the trees, and you breathe out, feeling healed and feeling calm. You become aware of the sky above you, and you breathe in the energy of the sky. And you can feel the vitality flowing into you as you breathe in the air, breathe in the energy of the sky. And the energy of the sky meets the energy of the earth within the center of your being. And you take a moment to just become aware of being in the sacred grove, in this clearing, in this beautiful spot in the countryside. You sense the leaves, perhaps some of them are drifting to the ground. And you sense how everything is just fine in this clearing. Life is slow here. There's plenty of life. But there's no rush. It's a place of peace and tranquility. And you just allow yourself to just completely relax here. Just sensing yourself basking in a sense of being absolutely fine. Just allowing the energy of the place to bathe every cell of your being. You might close your inner eyes so that you're just aware of your energy field. Your energy field that surrounds your physical body, bathing every cell of your physical body in energy and in light. And you allow all the good feelings of being in a natural place, being in the forest, to just gently fade as you become aware of retaining these feelings in your body and in your energy field. Just not dependent on any outside circumstances, but just feeling the freshness of the trees, the stability of the ground, the peace and the beauty of the place within your own energy field. And you can feel how every cell of your physical body is bathed in this energy, bathed in this field of light, of calm and of healing. Gradually, your awareness of every cell being bathed in energy and light gets stronger and stronger, so your awareness of the physical body grows stronger. As you become less aware of your energy field, more aware of your physical body. If you're completely aware of your physical body, all of your physical body in the here and now, fully present, and feeling good, feeling awake and aware, fully present here and now. Gradually allow yourself to become aware of being seated in front of your computer or your tablet. And when you feel ready, you stretch your fingers and toes and slowly open your eyes. And so here we are, back out of the meditation, hopefully. David Lazarus joined. How great that David is here. It's lovely to see friends popping in. Lisa, hello, James. James is saying, as an artist, it happens to me all the time. People tell me my art is wonderful, but I'm always, it's okay. It's the perfectionist showing its head. So try, James, that trick. I mean, maybe you've tried it already, which is not trying to override the perfectionist, trying to get rid of him and reason with him or her, saying, come on, everybody tells me my art's good, therefore it must be good, so just shut up. Just allow him or her to be there, their voice to be heard. You say, okay, that's how you feel. But there's also a part of me that feels really quite proud of what I've done and does accept that what I've done is okay, is good, is helpful, is beautiful, or whatever. I don't know if that helps for you, but it's that being kind of permissive and allowing all the different voices, because it's normal for us to have different opinions. It's almost like there's a part of us that wants things to be black and white and really simple. I either am really proud of my art or I'm dismissive of it. I'm either a perfectionist or I'm not. But actually, we can be all these things, and we can just allow this motley crowd to exist with all its different opinions. Jason is saying, I worked as a potter for some time. I learned that the clay wanted to be a form, and that it was the magic of my mind and hands that brought it out of the formless darkness. When I tried to dote over it to make it perfect, make it the perfect that I craved, the form would end up being ruined. When I applied this small lesson to my life, I found the happiness I craved. That's fantastic, Jason. I love that. Do you know, sometimes the way I relate to that is, I remember once one of the books that I had been asked to write, the publisher sent me an email saying, can you write the back cover blurb that describes the book? I need the email in 2 hours or something like that. And of course, there's the initial furious reaction of like, oh, how stupid, and I'm busy and I haven't got time and I need to polish it and so on and all the rest of it. And I remember bashing this thing out really quickly in a bit of a mood, I have to say, sending it off. Years later, I read the blurb on the back and I thought, that's very well expressed. Actually, that's pretty, did I write that? That's really well done. And I realized, yes, I did. Just like you say, just allowing the clay to take its form without overworking it. And I know Stephanie, who works in art in the theatre, she says, that it's fatal if you overwork, and I guess it applies to all art. David Lazarus could tell us that if you overwork it, you actually mess up the piece. Penny Billington is saying, how about talking to the self-giving feedback, good or bad, from the point of view of the watcher talking to the personality? That removes I and allows a more generous attitude. As in, hey, you did that okay. Is this useful or kidding ourselves somehow? I think our stumbling block is the constant iteration of I. Yes, iteration of I, and also is. There's a wonderful piece written by Robert Anton Wilson. He had this sort of campaign to get rid of the, is it a verb? Yes, être, that is. Because it's when you say this is good, it's the is. And of course, we know we shouldn't use is. We should say this seems to be rather good, or this seems to be helpful, this seems to be bad, or from this point of view, it's good, from this point, it's helpful. But we tend to use the word is to make it categorical. So by removing is and I, so you would say something like, you appear to think that this work is no good, Mr. Perfectionist. Well, there are other opinions here in this room, and you over there, you rather like it. Yeah, exactly. All these little ways of being kind to yourself. Derek is saying, so important to be kind to yourself when you speak to yourself, especially when it comes to anything creative, whether painting or writing. You know, it's called self-talk. You know, the way we have these little voices inside ourselves, and you have negative self-talk and positive self-talk, and it's quite amusing if you feel robust enough. Only do this, warning, only do this if you're feeling robust, is you can talk about your life, you can talk about any problem in the most negative way possible. Run the script. My God, I've had a terrible life. This awful thing happened, then this awful thing happened, then this thing happened, or this book is rubbish because. Then just erase it and then just write a completely positive script. And you suddenly realize that there's a whole bunch of positive ways of looking at it that can be really helpful. And then you come to this place, as Penny talks about, the watcher, the observer. That's less. So you disidentify, essentially. Pat is saying, I see perfectionism in trainees sometimes. It's often the way to protect one's dignity and self-worth. However, not always a helpful way to do this. Exactly. It's a lot of interesting material here, isn't there? I can see your Sammy, kintsugi pots are broken pottery mended with gold. So the cracks create the beauty. One of the biggest lessons to learn, I think, that our very failings, the very things that we think make our work flawed, may indeed be the things that are actually saving graces in our work or make it beautiful. One of the things I know I do is I write stuff and I think it's naive or obvious. And there's stuff I've written years back that I've put away and never published because I thought, well, that's almost sort of childlike and overly simple. And I'll read it years later and I'll just read it with fresh eyes and I'll think, no, come on, that's actually okay because it works. Lovely. I can see there's some great comments. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to make a cup of tea and then I'll come back. I may not come back till tomorrow morning actually because I'm staying with my son at the moment. So I may not come back till tomorrow, but I'm going to read all your comments. So do please keep posting them if it's triggered any ideas. And finally, just to make that link with the meditation, I believe that one of the values in meditation and doing the kind of visualizations that we did is allowing us to sink into a place where everything's okay and where we're relaxing physiologically, physically, in a muscular way, and also relaxing our critical minds and just accepting whatever state we're in, whether it happens to be in a sacred grove, whether we're imagining lying in the sun, whether we're repeating a mantra, whether we're listening to music, whatever it is, not striving. So thank you so much for being here. I can see it's a really great discussion. I'm looking forward to that. And I'm going to be away for the next 2 weeks. So you're going to have guests, mystery guests. And then I'll see you in 3 weeks' time. And I have a lovely time in the meanwhile. Have a great week and lots of love and many blessings. Goodbye.